Hi there.
For the record, please.
My name is Dawn Richardson, and I am the Director of Advocacy for the National Vaccine Information Center and a co-founder of Parents Requesting Open Vaccine Education. I'd like to start off by letting you know I have some institutional knowledge on the right of informed consent to vaccination in the state of Texas. From 1997 until 2003, I worked with hundreds and thousands, actually, of Texas parents to get the conscientious exemption for students put into law. We worked to fight the healthcare mandates that were put in place by Senator Jane Nelson, who then realized afterwards, after all of these healthcare workers were fired, after that did go into place, that the bill for child care workers then added the conscientious exemption. So while Senator Garcia does mention that she's modeling this after the child care worker bill that was passed in Texas law, she's failed to let you know that she has purposely left the conscientious exemption that is in state law for child care workers out. So if you all have any questions on the history of informed consent and vaccination in Texas, we've been at this for a long time. Teachers and school employees both should not have to choose between a vaccine and their job. Vaccines are already available to every single teacher and school worker, bus driver, cafeteria lunch lady, everybody who works in the schools. They're already available. So let's get something really clear. What this bill is really about is about forcing the people who already have the option to go and get some vaccines into getting them as a requirement for employment, that maybe they have a concern for their safety, efficacy, or necessity. There are a lot of different vaccines on the adult schedule. Some of you may not be aware, but currently the CDC recommended schedule, it's not required, influenza, tetanus, diphtheria, pertussis, varicella, HPV, measles, mumps, and rubella, pneumococcal, and then meningococcal, Hep A, Hep B, Hib. And when I talked to the office, the chief of staff, she said, well, maybe we'd start slow with influenza and pertussis. Well, you can't get pertussis vaccine by itself. And the influenza vaccine that they want to base the job requirements on, it had a 16% efficacy rate last year. The vaccine manufacturers are indemnified from liability, plus the expense of going backwards. A lot of teachers would find themselves and school workers to have to go get titer tests to prove immunity. Maybe they've already been vaccinated, or maybe they have natural immunity. The titer tests are expensive. For the small marginal percentage of people that this would affect, it's not worth it to go back and force them. Here's the other thing. No state in the United States does this right now. No federal or state agency is reporting a crisis for the need to vaccinate teachers in school. When I asked the senator's office what the driving force was there an organization? And the chief of staff said no. There was not an organization asking for this. This was something that she wanted to do. So please don't make Texas teachers the experiment of the nation. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I have a question.
Sir Rodriguez.
So you're saying teachers have an option right now to get a vaccine, but supposing teachers don't want to exercise that option, and the school district is concerned that they want to help prevent the spread of a particular ailment, disease that seems to be prevalent at the moment, you're saying the school district should not require that these teachers get vaccinated in the interest of protecting not only the other employees, but all the students in the school?
Adults in Texas currently should not be required as a condition of providing a livelihood for their family to be vaccinated if there are concerns with an outbreak of a particular illness. As we've seen, most people who are healthy and that if the vaccine is good and it's safe, they're going to voluntarily go get vaccinated. And the only people who won't are the people who have serious concerns. We have enough room in our society to be respectful of informed consent for medical procedures that have the ability to cause injury or death. The Vaccine Injury Compensation Program has paid out over $3 billion to vaccine victims. Forcing vaccination as a condition of employment is an area that our state does not need to go.
You know what? It just so happens that I was reading information on this issue, but not necessarily through the employment. You know, from what I gathered from these reports, National Institutes of Health, the various scientific organizations, seem to conclude that there is, when it comes to vaccines, that they're pretty safe. There are the exceptions, right? But that overall, from a scientific standpoint, that vaccines have now pretty much been determined to be safe. So I don't understand what your concern is. I mean, particularly in the employment area nowadays, including in this legislature, we require drug testing. We require all kinds of things that employees don't necessarily agree with, but in the interest of different kinds of public policy considerations, we impose those kinds of requirements. So,
just to clarify your question of you didn't understand why I'm concerned.
No,
yes, drug testing is non-invasive, and I think that's the distinction, Senator. Just to be respectful, is that when you're talking about putting something into your body, it is very different from taking a test and being able to prove something. On the other hand, there has not been a single study, epidemiological or a scientific study, showing that this is actually a problem of transmission between a student and a teacher and vice versa. There is not a problem right now, and so what we're doing is we're creating legislation in search of a problem that doesn't currently and hasn't existed.
Well, I'm sure there's going to be some others testifying on
We
this.
do have some resource witnesses available, Senator Rodriguez, if you'd like to.
All right, I'll hold off until then. Thank you.
Thank you.